Today I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to level up your product photography for your leather business. So today we're talking product photography, and I just want to preface it with, I am not a professional photographer. I am, I think, okay now. I was really bad when I started, and you just learn from taking pictures. So it's one of those things where just go out there, you will probably suck at first. That's just the way it is. There is a ton to learn about photography. These are just 3 tips that helped me when I was first starting out. So what I'm gonna do is just give you the 3 tips. At the end of the 3 tips, then I'll set up a little product shoot, walk you through how I do it, and then how I edit the photo after the fact. Again, I'm not a pro, so if I do something kind of weird, I'm sorry. This is just what works for me. I hope it'll work for you as well. So before we jump into it, if you guys wouldn't mind just hitting like below and subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, and if you like what I'm doing, obviously. It helps me out a lot, and it's really appreciated. But with that said, let's jump right into it with the first tip, which is lighting. Lighting is arguably the most important part about photography. I would wager to guess that you couldn't find a photographer that would tell you otherwise. Basically, what you're trying to do is get the best picture out of your camera or phone that you can before you ever go into editing. You're gonna make it way easier on yourself if you have a nice picture. So what I use is this Godox light here, but only because I'm down in a basement, and it works out great for me, and I can adjust the levels and all that good stuff from a remote. If you don't have a big light, or if you just have a house with like big windows, natural sunlight on a cloudy day is probably the best light you can get. If it's a sunny day, you need to diffuse it somehow, draw the curtains or something like that, but just light from a big window is going to be just perfect, and it's free. The important thing is that you just diffuse the light you have. So if you're using some kind of light like I have up here, it has a softbox on it with a diffuser. But if you're going to use a light like I have this light attached to my desk here from IKEA, you would just want to put like a sheet or a piece of paper or something in front of it just to kind of diffuse that light, just to soften it a bit. Direct light on your product is gonna make it look pretty harsh. My second tip to you guys is going to be get some props. They don't have to be super expensive, that you just want things that are going to go with your product without kind of stealing the light away from it. Challenge coins are great. These everyday carry handkerchief things are great. Of course, a knife or plants look awesome. Of course, a giant bag of coffee is always good. Some kind of book. I have assorted like woodwork bowls, a tin of Altoids, or whatever you're drinking. Got some pineapple bubbly here. Not a sponsor. I wish they were. I really like brass things, so I have a brass Fisher Space Pen. This is a brass Raylight pineapple. Of course, my Sinabroks punches. And then I have a whole tray of things next to me. My tools go in one drawer, and my photography props are in the drawer just beneath. They can be anything. I have a whole bunch of wallets that I've made. A knife sheath from my challenge with Ira. This is one of my first notebook covers that I ever made. Just anything that's gonna look good with your products. You don't just want to have, this wallet sitting there by itself. Take a picture. It's kind of boring. My third tip for you is going to be edit your photos. If you don't know how to edit your photos, learn to edit them. Get an editing program. I would recommend Lightroom, which is what I use. There is a premium version of Lightroom, but I think it only unlocks a few features on the mobile app. And then obviously, if you want to edit from your computer, it'll unlock that. But I believe that the Lightroom mobile is completely free, and honestly, that's mostly what I use. I shoot on my camera here, and then I download it to my phone, and then I edit from my phone and upload it straight to Instagram, or I actually use a Facebook business app, which can then schedule my Instagram posts and sends them out when I want. So that's what I do. Another good app is called Snapseed. It's by Google. It's completely free. It does a lot of the same stuff as Lightroom. I don't like it as much, but I've spent a lot less time in it than Lightroom, so it could be just as good. I'm just more familiar with Lightroom and prefer to stick with that myself. But give both a shot. If you already subscribe to Photoshop and Lightroom, you have the premium features on the mobile app already if you sign into your Adobe suite. I would say one thing you should make sure you do when you're in your Lightroom app, when you're finished editing your photo, is make sure that you do the cropping on your photos. Don't download it full size and then rely on Instagram to do it, they will crush your photo and it turns out grainy. So what you want to do for an Instagram post, if you want a complete square, crop it to 1:1 size. If you want the little bit longer one, crop it down to 4:5. And then if you want a picture for your stories, crop that to the 9:16 format. For your 1:1 like square post, make sure you export it with the long side at 1080. Or if you do the 4:5, make sure you export with the long side at 1350. And that will crop your photos perfectly for Instagram for your posts. I usually, for the 9:16 size ones, just crop it to that and then just put save to phone from my mobile app. It seems to work fine, but when you're posting to your grid, it will, if you upload over, I think it's a megabyte, it will crush your photo and make it look like crap. So yeah, make sure you crop and then export it with the proper size, and you should be able to avoid that. Okay, with that said, I'm going to go set up just a little product photo shoot over here and walk you through what I do. Okay, so what I start with is I figure out what kind of platform I want to put my product on. So here I just have a scrap piece of wood that I've done up to make it look all beat up. And I'll just start by throwing some products down with some props. And you'll notice I rearrange everything so many times, and I take a whole lot of pictures and then just kind of figure out what looks good after the fact. So here I'll try a few pictures just with that setup, and then I'll just make a few adjustments, check what it looks like on my camera or phone, and just keep adjusting. Sometimes I'll move the light around. One thing I really like doing is having the light on the opposite side of me, so it casts a shadow towards me in the pictures. It's definitely not something you have to do, but it's just something I like doing. So like if you put your product in front of a window, then you would just obviously take it from the other side of the product. So here's the picture I ended up with. The first thing I like to do is adjust the exposure and the contrast and highlights. So I adjust kind of how bright the whole picture is, and then I up the contrast, and I like to take the highlights way out as well as the whites. And then I just like the blacks to be a little darker. And now what I do is I tend to like a cooler temperature, and I bump up the vibrance all the way, almost all the way, and I take out some saturation there. Now I like a lot of clarity, and dehaze just kind of darkens everything, takes out some haze that would be there. And because I took it with my phone, I'm just going to do a bit of noise reduction, just because phones tend to have a little bit grainier of an image. Now I'm just making a few extra adjustments here. And you'll find that you'll just want to go back through and just make micro adjustments until you get the picture you want. Now, something else that I really like to do is use the gradient tool. And what this does is just lets me select an area. And then you can see I did the inverse here. And now I'm just going to change the size of it. And this lets you really highlight the thing on the picture that you want to highlight. So here, I'm going to darken everything except for the wallet. And it just kind of makes that pop. Another thing I like to do is take a bit of saturation out of the background items as well. And another thing this is good for is adding shadows where there weren't any before. Like if you look on the top side of the image, you can really see where that black paper is like you can see the edges of it. So I'm just going to use that gradient tool just to kind of soften those edges or take them out entirely. And I use this tool a lot. I like a darker image and I like to take out a lot of the background. You can use this tool the opposite way to brighten certain things and kind of highlight them. I just tend to like a darker image. And again, I'm just gonna play with this thing until I have it exactly how I want it. And at any point in Lightroom, you can actually long press on your image and it'll show you the original versus your edits. So you'll see here, I'm probably about to do it. There. See, there's the original and there's where we're at. You can see what a difference editing a photo makes once you've added the edits and compared the two. And again, just fiddling with stuff until I have it exactly how I want it. Now I use the healing tool just to take out, you can see a couple specks of dust on there. You can use that to take out dust or little imperfections. You don't want to use it too much because it'll start to make it look unnatural. But just if you have dust landing on your stuff, it'll take it out. And you should try to use as small a brush as you can. I'm using probably bigger than I should be here. And there's the original again, and the edited version. So now what we're going to do is crop. I go 4:5 for Instagram. It gives you a taller image. And then you're going to export as. And just make sure long side is set to 1350 pixels. This is going to reduce the size of the image so that Instagram doesn't crush it. And then I reset it. And then change the image size to 9:16. And this will give you the proper size to post an Instagram story. And this one I just saved to device. And then I just undo my changes just to bring it back to the proper size that it was when I imported it. And that's really all there is to it. Give these tips a try. Let me know how they work out for you. I'd love to see what you guys make on Instagram. Feel free to send me a message there. Leave me a comment below. Again, please like and subscribe to the channel. Helps me out. If you want to check out some of my other beginner videos, I do have a playlist. We'll link it up here and down below in the description. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.